Don't listen to stereotypes about Finland online. Trust me, it's a lot of fun. Sometimes you have to create that fun, but the opportunities are everywhere. Go first, come from a place of sincerity and curiosity. Balance, work-life balance, remember. That's one of the reasons I selected Finland. So try to balance your academic career with fun.
Tervetuloa. Welcome back to the JYU For You podcast. My name is Irfan Durmic and I'm your host with the most glasnost. Today we're finally doing the episode all of you guys have been waiting for. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence, the greatest rebrand in the history of the University of Jyväskylä and its international master's degree programs. But beyond that, we're also going to talk about the very important thing that almost every person coming to Jyväskylä, Finland, and any foreign country struggles with: making friends. It sometimes seems terrifying to go to a new culture, new society, try to make friends, build connections, try to actually engage with people. And luckily, we actually have somebody today who's going to bridge these two sides: artificial intelligence, making friends, and also being a useful member of our community. Today, I'm joined with my good friend and fellow student ambassador, Shaswato, also known as Tirtha, whom probably 97% of the city knows. I hope you will enjoy our little chat. Cheers. In your case nowadays, in a professional sense, do you think you're living for yourself?
Definitely. I think so. In a lot of ways, there's things to be desired. There are things that I'm dissatisfied about my current situation. But I think as a whole, like if you consider my studies, my job, my hobbies, my personal relationships, and the society that I'm in, I think, yes, I am building my life. Like I am charting a course towards a destination that I want to be, rather than just cruising along the waves. Definitely.
So you mentioned 5 different things, and let's just go through each and every one of them individually. So let's go with the studies.
Mm-hmm.
Second semester, hopefully going to be done with the thesis soonish.
Actually, it's the 4th semester. Second semester of the second year.
Second year. You're right. Studies. What is the program called nowadays? Because I know you guys have done enough marketing ploys to rename it. What's the current name of the program?
Master's degree in Artificial Intelligence.
So is AI going to replace us? Are we all going to be uploaded onto the cloud?
No.
Oh, you're going to disappoint some people.
It's not going to happen. AI is... Okay. Might happen in the future, but right now, as things stand, it is not going to happen. But a lot of jobs are going to be replaced, especially jobs in the artistic line, I feel like, which are the jobs that should actually stay. And the other jobs, like the tedious jobs that just going through the motions, same thing, assembly line jobs kind of thing. Those should be the ones that are going to be replaced, but no. Humanity as a whole, right now, they are not.
But the replacements, are they going to come with an Austrian accent?
I don't think so. I mean, you can program that.
That should be, you've seen the Terminator, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. For a second there, I got concerned.
Yeah, because you said Austrian accent. I thought it was going to be the German accent.
No. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Austrian.
Oh, I didn't know that. Study-wise, it's called... my program is called... Not study-wise, but... my program is called Artificial Intelligence. It's called Cognitive Computing and Collective Intelligence, COIN, before.
Was it called that when you applied to the program?
It was called that.
So when did you apply? You know I'm a senile person. When was this?
2022 in the application period. So then I got my acceptance letter and I started studying in the autumn semester of 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of makes sense. So when you read the description, cognitive intelligence and whatever the second part was.
Cognitive computing and collective intelligence.
What he said. Did that make any sense to you? Like, did you what were the expectations you had from the program at that point?
When I first read it, the program name, I admit I didn't really know what it meant. But of course, then I just clicked on the link and read the descriptions, and then I knew it meant artificial intelligence. By a specific kind of artificial intelligence, we can still see effects of that in the curricula. Basically, artificial intelligence model after the human brain. Mm-hmm. But right now it's becoming more and more generalized, I would say, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing because technology is always evolving. My expectations for the program was it would be more technical heavy. I for some reason I thought it would be like 90 or 80% coding and programming, but no, it was, I would say, 50% philosophical, theoretical basis of like what AI is, or different kinds of AI system. What are the implications of AI? Like the questions you ask: are we gonna be replaced? I have had this conversation and with our professor, and the question I think was, is it a good thing if humanity is replaced by AI or not? So it was a very interesting conversation. I don't remember which side. Oh no, I was on the side that it's a bad thing that if we get replaced. Yeah.
I think it's neither. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What happens happens. Who cares?
What happens. I care if I get replaced.
Yeah, but it's something bad or good at the end of the day. What makes it bad or good?
That's a problem we can discuss with AI. We have discussed that kind of problem too. But yeah, what was I saying?
You were talking about like your expectations from the program.
Oh, okay, yeah. So my expectations were more technical, but then it surprisingly, my expectations were exceeded in a way that for every theoretical course, there is a for developers course. Basically means there's a deep learning course and then deep learning for developers course. There's a semantic web course. There's a semantic web for developers course.
Can you just explain like, the actual difference between those two?
In the deep learning course, you will learn the theory of deep learning, the history of deep learning, different kinds of architectures that currently exist. Like a very famous one is the one that ChatGPT uses, transformer model, but of course they probably use a lot of different things there. There's GANs, there's also like reinforcement learning, which is actually technically like quite a bit different than deep learning. And for the developer courses, you learn how to program, like use the actual Python libraries or Java libraries of how to like open up an IDE and solve a problem with the theory that you're learning. So the professor might give you guys a task, and you will have to solve that task by whatever the professor teaches. And the teachings are very technical, like actual libraries, how to code this and this, and like very nitty-gritty details into the architecture of specific artificial intelligence systems. So
maybe my oversimplified version would be, on one end, you have the type of classes where you're given the hammer, you're shown a hammer, and you're told, this is the history of hammers, this is how we built this particular hammer, this is like, the entire supply chain that makes it possible for us to have these hammers. Then on the other hand, in the different courses, you're like, here are the hammers, here are the blueprints, build stuff.
Yes, and they give you very specific hammers. Like not all hammers. They don't give you all hammers. They give you just one hammer for a specific job. They will teach you how to like use that hammer. They will give you a task that might be slightly different from the task that the professor demonstrated. So now you do it.
Okay, but I think that's really nice because like it does give you that opportunity to both understand the context of something, because I think context really matters, and especially in like this new sphere that we're exploring, artificial intelligence, and also the actual applicability. So in your case, were you kind of disappointed in a way that it was 50%, or that it was only 50% coding? Like what is your actual academic background before coming to JYU?
I did my bachelor's in electrical and computer engineering.
Where?
In Bangladesh, University of Engineering and Technology. It should have taken 4 years. It took me 6 years because my country is a third world country. I'm from Bangladesh, by the way. And unfortunately, during the Corona times, universities were closed because half of the people who study in public universities, the one that I went to, they come from not so privileged background. They study really hard, and after like huge competition, they get into the universities. In the Corona time, they had to go back home, and not all villages have internet. So it doesn't really make sense to teach online when only like half of the people might be able to study. So I was delayed by 1.5 years. I focused more on the computer engineering side in my final years of studies. So and this is a very hybrid course that I did, bachelor's program that I did. I didn't learn everything a person might learn while doing a computer science course. I didn't learn everything a person might learn during an electrical engineering course. We had to pick and select symbiotic courses that kind of complement each other. So I was kind of hoping the master's degree program will fill my gaps in knowledge. Technically, it did in a way, because once you study a master's degree program here, there are compulsory courses, but there are electives and optional courses that you can do here. The credits will still be counted, which are not compulsory. So, but the compulsory courses were like 50-50, 50% theoretical, 50% technical. I did have the options to take courses that would have covered up my gaps in knowledge that I had in the computer engineering side back when I was doing my bachelor's degree. I chose not to, because there were also so many other options available for courses. Like, I just want to pick them all, but I don't have the time, so I have to like kind of prioritize what I want to select.
Okay. So it's kind of nice to hear that like you actually found like something in the master's program and everything to kind of complement the things that you've done before and to give it like this, full picture. And you do come from an academic background where I feel like you have a multitude of opportunities, because you know what they say like to people like, hey, if you're worried about the future, get a STEM degree and it opens up a lot of doors. So how did you choose the JYU door in particular? Because I'm assuming you had like a lot of different options that you could have like progressed with.
Yes. I was aiming for Finland. Okay, so I know Japanese. 日本語知ってます. I just said I know Japanese in Japanese. I was planning for the longest time to go to Japan. Like, oh my God, so long. And I had talked with professors in various universities. My family was all okay for it. I love Japanese culture, except one. The working culture. I couldn't imagine myself. I close my eye. I simulate a scenario like 4 years in the future. I'm working in Japan, and I couldn't imagine myself like living through that. Of course, I'm not saying all Japanese working culture is very brutal, even though almost every other aspect of the culture I absolutely adore and love. So I wanted to select something where I would have more of a work-life balance. And I started looking at options, and Finland does a very good job at advertising itself as the happiest country in the world, because I think there's a lot of truth to that claim. And one of the reasons why they're happy is because amazing work-life balance. And that, I think one of the reasons is it got me interested. Like, that first made me aware of Finland. And then I just started looking into like universities in Finland, watching many YouTube videos, vlogs about people living here. And my bachelor's thesis was in AI. It's machine learning, related to machine learning. So I started kind of searching for like in IT master's degrees with a focus on informatics and artificial intelligence and those kinds of things. And this was one of them. And I applied to this alongside many others. And I got accepted into it. And after debating with myself, looking at the other options, I also selected other countries, targeted other countries. But Finland was my number. Like, it was my main kind of focus. I was kind of like loosely aiming for the other countries, like reusing the same applications but the applications were designed for Finnish universities. And yeah, and I got in, and then I accepted the invitation, and now I'm here.
So what were some of the insecurities that you had? I mean, I'm assuming you had like some insecurities and concerns when you were moving to Finland and coming to Finland. What were some of the kind of like major ones that still are kind of somewhere in the back of your head that you really remember?
I remember the insecurities. I wouldn't say the insecurities are still here. I wouldn't be able to make any friends. I would be living a very boring life here with no hobbies. I will have to stay stuck at home when it's dark outside. It's 20 hours darkness in deep winter. People would be very unfriendly, and I would only be sticking with my own Bangladeshi community of friends. Quite a lot of stereotypes, I would say. Insecurities that rose in me based on stereotypes I read or listened to online, which a lot of them turned out to be false.
So what were the major insecurities? Like, what were they?
I wouldn't be good enough to make friends.
Oh, okay. So but that was kind of like your major concern.
One of the major concerns, because I think I'm a person who kind of, I don't know, needs human contact, compassionate human contact.
I think every human being needs that.
Yeah, I think they need that, but do they want that? And I want that. So many people might not want it even if they need it. I think I need and want it at the very visceral level. And I thought of myself, I would not be able to integrate into the Finnish culture. They're going to think I'm so weird. Or like, I don't know, like, I didn't have many outgoing hobbies when I was in my own country. I was very much into video games and very much into reading books. I still have the reading books hobby, but I don't have the playing video games hobby anymore. And I wanted to replace that with more extroverted social things that you do with other people in real life hobbies. And I thought, I don't have any practice with this. I can't do it. But that turned out to be false.
Okay. So let's just jump straight into that, also considering that this material should be fresh, since you did write an article on how to make friends in Finland. I definitely understand the whole aspect of like developing these insecurities based on what you might read online.
Yes.
I was the type of person who did very, 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 very minimal research on Finland. So like I didn't do the whole like I didn't really have the conscious awareness of like that Finns are perceived as particularly unfriendly.
Mm-hmm.
But I have become aware of the fact that like whenever you open up the front page of Reddit and it's it notices your IP address is Finland, it maybe like the top 10 posts are always like in the our Finland subreddit. Feeling very lonely, how to make friends in Finland. Been here 15 years, feel unaccepted, yada, yada, yada. Or my personal comment always on those types of questions on Reddit, at least, is there's always the one Finn that says like, we also don't know how to make friends here. Once you figure it out, please tell us. So, can you please tell both the international community and also the Finnish community, how do you make friends in Jyväskylä? Like, or I guess in your particular case, so you kind of had those insecurities. What were the actual steps that you took to get over that, in a sense, to just kind of connect yourself to this community?
Yes, I did read the article, like you mentioned, and it was surprisingly not so difficult to make friends. And I'm not saying it's because, I'm so good at making friends. Anyone can make it. Like in this journey, I would say, people should not be afraid of making mistakes. We're foreigners in another culture. If we make a mistake, we have the shield of like, I didn't know any better. I don't know the social rules or customs. So I think using that is a very good idea.
To like rational extent.
Yeah, to the rational extent.
Don't do something illegal and then be like, I didn't know that you can't rob a bank.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you sit down next to somebody for lunch, start chatting with them, and they look at you like, dude, I'm trying to eat my meal, please don't bug me. You politely, kind of, hey, sorry, didn't realize that this wasn't like a customary thing or whatever.
So it's one of those things, because I think people are very afraid of making a bad impression and messing up. Most people, me too, me included, but I kind of like made this promise with myself, when I go to Finland, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. And one of the things I did is I knew that Finnish people did not like to approach first, be the first one to start a conversation. And this is also a stereotype, by the way. Depending on the context, they are the type of people that approach first. Depending on the context, I said. So I joined a lot of hobby associations to take part in different kinds of hobbies. And I just completely like broke the ice immediately and started conversations. I went first. I would say only to some extent it didn't work out fine. People were very clearly disinterested in a conversation, but I think most of the time people were very curious and sincere, because when I broke the ice, I didn't do it in a rude way. I, of course, went from a place of sincerity and curiosity. I think it's very important. Finnish people really like it when people are curious about their culture, because it's such a small country with only 5.5 million people, and they're very interested in getting to know what foreigners think about them.
Let me just jump in on that very quickly. That point of curiosity, I think, is a very important one, and I think not just like within the Finnish context, but like with any other context, because there is this kind of like leechy attitude that some people might have, where it's like, sure, everybody wants to make friends and build connections, but like when you approach somebody with the intention, like, I want to make you my friend, please be my friend, it's kind of like, it's draining in a way towards the other person. So like, I think it's really important just to have that framework of like, this is some random person and you're genuinely curious about it. So just always going with that curiosity approach rather than the, please fill the hole in my heart, the gaping hole in my heart.
I think that's an important point, because this is the same for every relationship. I think if you're interested in a friendship and the other person is also interested in a friendship, then your goals align and it's so much easier. But when you see a rejection, when you approach first, I don't think it's a good idea to take it personally. Maybe that person just doesn't want to make friends, so your goals are in conflict, and in that case, if someone forces it, of course they're going to have a bad experience. So I think it's very important to kind of establish, it might be a bit shy. People might be a bit shy to say this at first, but yeah, I would like to make friends. I would like to get to know people better. I think just admitting this in the first conversation goes a long way. Because they can respond to it. Like, you're giving an invitation and people they can either shake your hand or slap it away. So, and then you decide what your next actions are going to be. The myth surrounding Finnish people is they don't want to make friends. And that's a myth, because they do want to make friends with foreigners. At least everyone is different. People have to know. Like, everyone is different, but in general.
And these are all just like personal experiences, just so neither one of us is a sociologist.
No, we're not sociologists. But it's like, in a general, people do want to make friends. Finnish people are very shy. They're introverted. Within that introverted population, you will find extroverted people, but at the population level, as I said, they're introverted. So they might not approach a foreigner to ask, hey, what's going on? Even if they're like so curious, they're like dying to know inside. So, yeah.
And maybe just to add on something on that, like, I think part of the Finnish culture is it's less about, I mean, there is that level of introversion and whatever, but I think it's more of a, I don't want to take up somebody's space and bug them. Yeah. So there might be that, like, curiosity or whatever. And I think people oftentimes tend to kind of understand this as like, oh, Finns are rude. Like, oh, why won't anybody approach me? Also, like, dude, get off your high horse. Like, why should anybody approach you? But it's about understanding that, like, there is this mentality of, like, they as individuals, I think we had this conversation once about, like, Finnish hyper-individuality. Mm-hmm. Like, they as individuals value their own time, their own space and whatever. And then they assume that, like, oh, everybody else is going to value their own space and time so much more than they do themselves. So, of course, they're not going to, like, go approach somebody and, like, bug them, take away their time. So I think it's kind of, go ahead.
I think, like, at the same time that they value their own time, they also value your time. Exactly. So they don't want to waste it. So I think it's a good idea to make it clear from the first conversation, you're not wasting my time. I find the conversation that we are having or we are about to have valuable. Even if I do not take away any deep knowledge, which most people will have from a deep conversation, it's a time well spent. It's quality time. It's not wasted. So you're not wasting my time. I think making that clear is a really good idea. Finns might not make it clear. Not all Finns. Some Finns will. But it's a very cultural thing. If you see the Finns waiting for a bus, they will be standing so far away from each other, right? And it's like...
you didn't need to teach them social distancing during the pandemic. Yeah. They already had it ingrained.
They are very, I would say... Considerate of other people. They don't want to be a burden. And there's the assumption that works that it's a bit of limiting what they think is like anything that they might do might be a burden to someone. So it's better off not doing it. Some people, of course, are very exuberant in their day-to-day lives. And I think that's nice. but they would rather undershoot than overshoot, I think. And this has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
It does. I compared this to my own very boisterous culture, Bangladeshi culture. It's amazing. I love Bangladeshi culture. But in some ways, I feel like the Finnish culture is, I don't know, better for survival, because people don't get into trouble by not talking. They get into trouble by talking too much. Right. So I think Finnish people in that regard would get into way less trouble in many social scenarios.
I mean, I've no idea is there like any actual historical reference to this, but I could imagine, like maybe a couple of hundred years ago, you're in a super harsh climate. There's like 7 of you. You really don't want to be the one person who like pisses off the other 6 and then has to like, okay, Matti, you are not staying in the house anymore. Sorry, I can't do a good Finnish accent. You go into the cold and then you get eaten by a bear.
Yeah.
Or something worse than a bear. Never know what is in these woods. But so what were the actual like events and whatever? Because I mean, right now we're saying like, okay, if you should allow yourself to approach and have communication with people. I highly doubt that you were just like going around, keskusta and just being like, hello.
Maybe I was. Okay, I wasn't.
I would respect it if you had those guts. Anyway, but so what were the kind of events that you went to? And maybe I guess there's probably like a plethora of different things that you can do, because the beautiful thing about a university context is there is this expectation that like people are going to get to meet each other. And I think last time we had this conversation about frequency, proximity, and connection. So how did you leverage those 3 things?
Yes, I leveraged it by joining clubs. So I'm not talking about nightclubs or those kinds of things.
They're also fun though.
They're also fun. I'm talking about mainly hobby associations, anime club, board game club, dancing clubs, and there's also the art club, which is very popular. I didn't continue with it. But yeah, quite a few clubs. Historical dancing, one of my favorites. I play Japanese mahjong, Riichi mahjong every Sunday. And I have made many, many good friends there. It's a good idea to take advantage of a setting where people are more inclined to already talk to each other. I think removing the obstacles or resistance between me and my goals was a good thing, but then I put more obstacles there because I wanted to try some stuff that I had never tried before. As I said, one of my goals was to get out of my comfort zone, and I had never danced in my life. So I obviously selected historical dancing.
He dances like he's never danced before.
Yes, that's a really nice saying that applies to this situation. I was so nervous the first time I went. Oh my God. And it turned out okay. They didn't eat me alive, and I'm still there after 1.5 years. And I have made lifelong friendships there. And once people share a common hobby, you don't have to talk about the weather, is what I'm saying. Like, you can talk about the hobby, about dancing. How long have you been dancing? Why historical dancing in particular? What got you started? Have you seen Bridgerton or any of the Jane Austen movies? There's almost an unlimited amount of topics. And once you make that crucial first friend in one of the hobby associations, as I said, Finnish people really like making friends. They're just shy. And once they make friends, it takes some time for them to make friends because they have 2 words for friendship relationships, kaveri and ystävä. Kaveri can be loosely translated to acquaintance, buddy or acquaintance. It's a bit more than that. It also means friends, but ystävä, from what I know, it means like close friend, like one of the few in the inner circle. And it takes some time to become an ystävä, but once you become that kind of friend, you are a friend for life. And those kinds of friendships is one that people care what you do in your free time. So they will bring you to new events, and you will get to know their friends, and you will get to know people who might not be their friends, but join those events. And you will be making your own kind of social community circle. And that's very good. So making myself easier. I joined the anime club because I loved anime. And but I wanted to reduce the frequency of me spending like tens of hours binge watching the latest, season of Attack on Titans. I just wanted to make it a communal activity. So of course I joined the anime club, where we each suggest an anime. We roll the dice to view one episode of said anime, and then we tastefully criticize each other's tastes, because each of us obviously have the better taste in anime than the other person. It's fun. It's very fun. And same with historical dance. No, not the same. Historical dancing was the opposite. I never danced before, so let me try something new. And the newness gave me the advantage of being an apprentice, so people were interested in being my mentor. And that also gives me many opportunities for conversation. And slowly, I think, I blended in. They didn't even see me coming. I became one of them. And now I'm friends with a lot of them.
So something that like most people might say is if they Google a lot of these things, they will notice that they might be in Finnish. And while the university does have certain events that are geared towards international students and then more kind of like, English-speaking events, in part or 99% of the reason being that we do have a really excellent, I got to give props to ESN. ESN has done an amazing job. There might be like a level of awkwardness that you might have as an international student to go to an event that is essentially being marketed as an event in Finnish. And some of these things that I know you attended, they are things that are essentially in Finnish. Mm-hmm. So how did you feel about that? Before you give me the answer, I'm just going to say the following. I do think that, like, even if an event is in Finnish, it's important to not feel like, oh, this isn't for me, because being a university event trumps the language of the event itself. So if university student, university event, it is for you. Doesn't matter what language it is. Could be in Serbo-Croatian. You can still go to it. Good luck finding a translator for that, though. I'm pretty cheap, though, for certain things. Translations, at least. Anyway, sorry. So, how do you feel about going to events that are basically marketed just, this is in Finnish, good luck, have fun?
Like I mentioned before, going from a place of curiosity and sincere curiosity, not like you have an agenda. Okay, the agenda can be, I want to make new friends. That's a good agenda. That's a good agenda, but not something I would say like, I want to use this event as a springboard to kind of get a job. Like I feel like a lot of foreigners do this because the unfortunate reality is people need a job. But let's get into that conversation later. Finnish events are nothing to be scared of. They will not eat you up and spit you out. Finns are spectacular at English. Most Finns are. They learn Swedish until the end of high school, I think. They speak better English than they speak Swedish, like any day of the week. Maybe because of the media, of course, like cultural, soft power-wise, like English.
USA.
Not just USA, but like English media is like very popular here. A lot of events try to accommodate you, like the historical dancing. Historialliset tanssia. That's what's written in the university sports program. Of course, you can translate it and then it says historical dancing. The teachers used to very much teach the classes in Finnish, but the teacher or the instructor always seemed to ask, how many people does not speak Finnish here?
In what language do they ask that question? Then?
English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
And in English, and if the number of people is like, I think, more than a few, like 2 or 3 people, then I think he switches completely to English usually. But even if he doesn't switch to English, he tries to take special care of the people who do not speak Finnish. But while speaking Finnish, if he does so, he speaks it in such a way, a very easy way. And sometimes he explains what he says so that it's easier for us to learn the language. Like oikea, right, vasen, left, right, iso piiri, big circle, pari, partner or couple, something like that. In dances, there's a lot of pair dances too. So I think it's a really good opportunity to learn the language too. Some events would be completely in Finnish, I think. For example, initially, a lot of the student union events were completely in Finnish without any sort of translations. That has changed because the student union chairman or president, they're trying to set an agenda or like discuss a topic, and most of the people in those kind of student union meetings would be Finnish speaking, and they do like they're very particular about maintaining their own culture, like growing and nurturing it. So they would speak mostly in Finnish back in those days. That has changed now. They have hired interpreters for me and one other person who were the only like international representatives of the student union now. So they want to nurture their own culture of Finnish. At the same time, they want to push for bilingualism. It's trying to keep the balance. So because I know that most events nowadays either will try to accommodate me, and if there's no way to accommodate me now, that might change in the near future. I never write events off. I try to join, like even if it's just Finnish. So it's a very good way to make local Finnish friends.
Ever had a bad experience?
Mm-hmm.
When I said bad experience, I meant mostly like, you know, you came to like a Finnish speaking event and people didn't really feel like switching to English.
That happened too, but
so how'd you deal with that?
I walked away. Like I don't have to force myself to be part of every event for the whole durations. The beauty of there being many events organized by the university and the student body and even the tenants committee in the place where we stay.
I gotta hand it to like the new tenants committee and like the guys in S02. Actually, I think one of my neighbors basically started off that entire group chat.
Yeah.
So God bless him and like everybody on that tenants committee. They've been doing some great stuff this year.
Yeah. So basically, there's so many events that I can pick and choose whichever I want to go to. I still want to give everyone a fair chance, everything a fair chance. But after like staying in an event, say for half an hour, and see like I'm not talking with anyone and I'm not understanding anything, and people are not interested in my presence there, I don't have to stay there. Maybe they are interested in my presence there, but because the subject or topic is just so critical that they have to communicate it in Finnish if they want to communicate it properly with. They don't want to make it so that the thing that they're thinking and the words that come out of their mouths are not different, and the words that come out of their mouth reaches in a consistent manner to the ears of the listener. So in those cases, there's nothing I can do, and no hard feelings. Like I just say goodbye with good humor, and then I leave.
I think I know that I picked on you a little bit right now, and I appreciate the fact that you're willing to share this. I think it's just important for people in general to understand that, like, you know, you're going to have some good experiences, you're going to have some bad experiences. And for what it's worth, I can relate on that level. You know, I think we've all had, like, you know, both really pleasant experiences here, you know, in and outside of the classroom, and also some experiences in and outside of the classroom where you're like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Let's get the hell out of here.
I think that's
it's life.
It's life in general. Having unrealistic expectations about Finland is bad, because when people see happiest country in the world, they don't dive deep into what that statement actually means.
Guys, it just means that they still have kind of, depending on what the government does, a somewhat decent social healthcare system. That's it.
They have a very good safety net. People are satisfied with the government in general. Like
depends how you vote.
It in general, maybe not the government, but maybe the system of how things go here. They are satisfied with it, but it's Finland. Like there's 6 months you won't get any sunlight. You will get very few sunlight, and as I said, like it is harder than, say, if you had lived in Colombia or India to make very quick friends, right? So there are negative sides, and people have to be realistic about those negative sides, because only when someone acknowledges that there might be a problem or there is a problem can someone
deal with it.
Yeah.
Maybe just the last thing, I'm gonna bug you a bit about this. Why, in your right mind, and how did you decide to get involved with the student union?
Free pizza. Okay. I'm kidding. Not completely.
Where was the pizza from? Then we can judge how serious.
Is it okay to name drop brands here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pizzeria Maria.
Yeah, I advertise Sockville like every week.
Okay. Pizzeria Maria. Yeah, so...
They got an excellent pizza, guys.
They do.
I think they also have like
cheap and excellent.
I think there was like a 10-15% student discount.
Yeah, they have a
Something like
student
that.
discount.
And that pizza's huge.
It's quite big. Pizzas are still very expensive in Finland. If you go to like France or some other Central European countries, like pizzas are cheap. In Finland, pizzas, there can be good pizzas,
But they're pretty good. That's kind of like,
they're good.
except with there is one particular, I'm okay with like name dropping if we have something positive to say. If we have something negative to say, I usually avoid that because I don't want to get a lawsuit.
Yeah.
There is one particular very popular brand that I think the pizza is insanely overrated. I don't understand why people pay 15 euros for a pizza this size. But anyway, we're not gonna name drop. We're not gonna name drop.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
We're not gonna name drop.
Okay, so
student union. How did you get involved with the student union? Yeah.
Historical dancing, two of my very good friends there were part of the student union and part of a specific group. And while they were hosting a kind of fair where each of the student political bodies kind of like set up tables, give you free candy, and then talk about whatever the heck they are politicking for in the student union. I talked with them because, as I said, I go to events and I talk with people. So I talked with them and, hey, I know you. And they're like, yeah, I know you too, dance class. So then the conversation went from there. We had really nice conversations. And my friend Matti, he mentioned that there's going to be a newcomers night. There's going to be a free pizza. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to go. Free pizza. And then I went up. Then I ended up going and there was free pizza. And we had very, very, very nice conversations about the current situations of the Finnish socioeconomic landscape, how immigrants like me are contributing to it, what problems there are in our integration, like many things. And it opened my mind to a lot of possibilities. And when they mentioned that I could sign up to be a counselor, basically a representative in the council representative. So I was like, wait, I can do that? They were like, yeah, you can do that. And in the history of this university, there had never been an officially elected foreign, international student counselor. So
nice work.
And first I was very afraid, like, am I qualified? Do I want to do it? They were very supportive. Like, you can make a change. And the whole group, they were like pro bilingualism, pro take more care of international students, please, that kind of people. So, okay, I took the leap of faith and signed up, and then we had a lot of fun campaigning for our election, and then I got elected alongside one other international student. And like we mentioned, like when the first meeting started, there were no interpreters. The documents were not translated into English. Now there are hired interpreters who in the meetings can be in Finnish real time. They will like translate like in real time whatever the people are speaking.
What is this, like European, Parliament?
Yeah.
You have like a...
we don't have the headphones yet, but that's a very good suggestion. Right now it's like we sit in the same place and the interpreters also go through the agenda and they kind of like they can translate the main gists.
Points.
Because in real life it's very hard to be like word by word translation because it takes time. Like I might miss important pieces of knowledge. So I feel like I can be fully involved in each of the meetings now because I know what exactly is going on. At the start, that wasn't the case, but our group and many other groups heavily pushed for bilingualism. And this is one of the changes we made. Right now, this year, there's the first ever international student as a board member. I'm a counselor, not a board member. They're the executive body of the student union, people who actually get stuff done. And one of them is currently an international student, country mate from Bangladesh too. So I can see that the more time that is going on, the more that international students are getting involved into Finnish politics. And it's a very good chance to make actual change, even if the change might take a while, which can be sometimes frustrating. But just the possibility that the thing that I say and like push for might come true, or even if like not completely, but in some form, which is positive towards international students who might be coming to Finland later down the years or like decades, that it can have a positive impact on them. That was very attractive to me. So yeah, I joined, and I think the results are very good, and more people should definitely join.
Do you know when's the next election and how people can actually get involved with the parties?
Reach out. They might reach out, right? As I said, Finnish people might not be the first to reach out, so you reach out, join events. The student union fair kind of thing, JYY, they host a lot of events, and JYY is like the umbrella organization. It means Jyväskylän yliopiston ylioppilaskunta, means student union of the University of Jyväskylä, and under them there's the hobby associations, like I mentioned before, not the historical dancing, that's under the university sports program, but there's also the various political institutions and also the subject associations. They're all kind of like under that umbrella, and like JYY are hosting like many events. Reach out to them, get to know this. The next election season is this autumn semester, because each term is 2 years for the councillors. For the board members, it's 1 year. For the councillors, it's 2 years. And the previous election was 2023 autumn semester, so the next one is going to be 2025 autumn semester. And you will start, if someone gets elected, of course, they will start their term in
January
or December.
December.
And even if someone doesn't get elected, just by the fact that they ran for election makes them a deputy member.
Really?
Deputy member. So if some elected member is not able to appear in certain meetings, a deputy member can go on behalf of them. Also, even if all the members go, elected members go, the deputy members can still like join them, and like they have a voice. Actually, everyone has a voice. Every student is allowed to join the student union meetings. People just don't know. And it's also live streamed, each of the meetings. And it's like the elected members get like deciding votes, but in case suppose I am sick, I can't go, a deputy member can go on behalf of me. And just because someone is a deputy member doesn't mean their voice doesn't count, because the group that I am part of, we take everyone's opinion into consideration and then push for policies and rules or events that are advantages or like that support the moral belief of every member. Doesn't matter if it's deputy or not. And any student of the university can become a board member even if they're not elected. So think of board members like ministers, and think of like council members as like members of parliament, something like that. I think that's a rough analog to them.
I think that's. I always think about it as like, you know, the people on the council. I just look at them as, you know, congressmen or congresspeople, members of House of Representatives, and secretaries. That's how I always view
think that's kind of like the American like secretaries, and in our kind of like Commonwealth sphere, it's kind of like ministers or something like that.
I forgot that you guys are also technically like, you know, Commonwealth sphere. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, okay. Bangladesh was part of the. Is part of the Commonwealth because it was. Yeah,
part of the
Indian. British Empire and Indian subcontinent. So.
Okay, so forgot that for a second. Just last quick note. How do I actually like, so since any student can become I'm just going to call them secretaries because it makes my brain function easier. How do you become the Secretary of State of JYY? How do you run for that?
You don't run for it. When the previous board's term ends, there will be in the newsletters like, hey, the new board is going to be decided. You can send your CV. And people who are then in the board There's also like actual jobs in the student union, because the student union is a separate organization from the university, even though they're kind of like complementary and symbiotic. They will interview you, but before you have to kind of apply through one of the groups under the student union. Little known fact, you can create your own group. You don't have to join the existing ones.
There was an anarchist group 2 years ago. I think
I know them.
Ananas Liitto, I believe they were kind of like
Yeah. Oh my God, I know them.
That's where my vote went 2 years ago, and I'm
you
proud
voted
of that.
for them.
Of
Okay,
course.
yeah.
Sorry, I just have a very... I thought that entire structure, the entire student government was an absolute joke. So I was like, I'm going to vote for these guys because these guys seem to understand that this is all pointless.
Anachronistic ananas, I think they were.
They were legend. Though, to be fair, I kind of agreed with like... or maybe did I don't remember, dude. There was that also Valikone, I think. Like you had like a questionnaire and you would get matched with like the candidate that fits your profile best.
The compass, I think.
Yeah. Election compass and whatever.
So, what was the question again? The previous one that you asked?
Sorry. The question was, how do you actually become a secretary?
Okay, so you join, either apply through one of the groups or make your own. Maybe I'm not too sure on the rule that you can become one of the board members or secretaries by making your own group and then applying through that. But reaching out to any of the existing groups, subject associations or like political bodies, and then applying through them is completely fine. And then there's going to be a negotiation stage. So people who negotiate, suppose you're joining my group, right? You want to be in charge of academic affairs or international affairs. And so our group, they will send 2 members, and other groups will also send members in a hidden room. Okay, not hidden room, it's not clandestine. But people will negotiate for their own people. I want this person to be in this position. And there's like, it's actual like discussions and pros and cons, benefit analysis and everything. And this happens around the same period where there's the interviews. Like you send your CVs at first, but the people who are currently in the student union on the board, some of them, and also the people who work there's like specialists. I think, and also the executive director, and there's many different like titles and placements of people. There's a job interview and people try to present themselves as best as they can. And then after the negotiations finish, you will get the result. Either you become one or you don't. And then your term is for 1 year. There is a small amount of pay for this work that you do, and it is very important work. So they try to be fair with the pay. And like, that's how you can become the secretary, basically.
Okay, my friend, I think we've gone through like all the major topics. So to take us out into the weekend or second day of the weekend, what is kind of like a big piece of advice that you have for all of our incoming students, current students, students interested in AI? What is the piece of advice that you have for them?
Don't listen to stereotypes about Finland online. Trust me, it's a lot of fun. Sometimes you have to create that fun, but the opportunities are everywhere. Go first, come from a place of sincerity and curiosity. Balance, work-life balance, remember. That's one of the reasons I selected Finland. So try to balance your academic career with fun. And of course, the reality is like a lot of people might be in financial distraught times, and the reality for them, of course, is still, I think, take care of your mental health after coming here, whether that is through the kind of fun that I do or some other kind of fun that you yourself like figure out. It's very important because the weather here is one of those things that can really get you dark. I thought the cold would bother me. The cold didn't. Because I have good clothes, right? What bothered me is the darkness, because I come from a country where there's like generally 12 hours of sunlight, 12 hours of darkness. Here it just switches back so much. So like seasonal affective disorder, sad, you will become sad. So just take care of that. And I think Finnish culture has a lot to offer to you. Whether you decide to stay in Finland long term or leave Finland after 2 years, whatever the reason may be, you will change as a person. You might take in some of their limiting beliefs, but more than that, you will take in a lot of their strengths, like the hidden strength, sisu, of like the Finnish people. So yeah, come from a place of sincerity and curiosity, and don't forget to have fun.
I think that is the perfect place to stop. My friend, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for sharing like a lot of like personal things. I think it's important for people to, while people can read your lovely article, which we will add in the program notes, I think it's important to see the person behind that and to see the experiences behind, and to also understand that there are, trials and tribulations that you're going to go through when you're moving somewhere. But kind of exactly what you said, approach it with curiosity, be open to the different opportunities you might have, and just give it a shot. Thank you guys, as always, for being with us. I hope you're going to find some value out of this. Again, if something isn't working out right now, it just is what it is. It's neither bad nor good. You never know how you're going to look at that in the future, going back to the, self-help cliches. But be open to the fact that, fortunately, when you are in a university context, there are a lot of opportunities for you to mingle with people, engage with people, different classmates and whatever. And again, focusing on just like, be curious about things, be open to different experiences, and approach things from a sincere place in your heart. Thank you guys again, and have a wonderful weekend. Cheers.
Cheers.